So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're finally going to take a look at the stances for the claws. So Vermilion Storm, 4 Riders, and Malicious Raptor. And let's start it off with Vermilion Storm, which is described as a stance with kicks woven between spinning slashes, and it has a V polarity which matches both the Ripcast and the Venka. So the first combo is called Cardinal Breeze, and this is your standard EE button mash, and it starts off with an AoE strike, which is followed up by a double strike and an AoE penta strike, and it ends with one more regular strike. And this is one hell of a button mash combo. It does a ton of damage and it looks bloody fabulous. The second combo is called Crimson Hurricane, and to execute this one you have to pause after the first attack. So this one starts off with an AoE strike, and after the pause you will do 2 double strikes that do 110% damage. You will then do a regular strike followed by an AoE double strike that does 110% damage, and you will finish it off with a triple strike that does 150% damage and procs impact. Oh my goodness, that is a lot of stuff. The third combo is called Flurry Roads, and this one is really easy to do. Just hold the block button while mashing the melee button. And this combo starts off with an AoE strike, which is followed up by a double strike and a strike that does 125% damage. And at the end you will do 3 separate strikes, each doing 150% damage. And the fourth and final combo is called Ruby Wind, and to execute this one you are supposed to hold the second attack, but it works just fine if you hold the first attack instead. And this combo starts off once again with an AoE strike, but after the hold you will do a triple strike that does 125% damage and procs one of the damage types you have on your weapon. It is then followed up by a double strike that does 150% damage and procs one of the damage types you have on your weapon. And finally you will do a strike that does 200% damage and procs Slash. Now, this stance drops from either the Manic Bombards or Drekar Manic Bombards, or you can get it from Barkatir or as a weekly reward from Conclave challenges. So it is a ginormous pain in the arse to get, and I actually bought it for this video. But if you're not a cheap bastard like me and you would rather farm it, do the mission Titania on Uranus. Now, this stance is really good, mostly thanks to Cardinal Breeze, because it's just a brilliant button mash combo. But that doesn't mean the other combos are bad, they're really good too, and they're easy to pull off. And thanks to all the multipliers and multi-strikes and AoEs and procs, this stance is a complete beast. And if you have the opportunity to try it out, I would definitely recommend it. And moving on to 4 Riders, which is described as a stance with fast strikes and powerful slams, and it once again has a V polarity, so it matches both the Ripcast and the Venka. So the first combo is called Aggravated Swarm, and this is your standard EE button mash, and it starts off with a strike that does 125% damage and procs impact. This is followed up by 2 separate strikes that each do 125% damage, and it ends with a double strike that also does 125% damage. The second combo is called Hungering Encroachment, and this one is really easy to do. Just hold forward while mashing the melee button. Now, this combo does a lot, so it starts off with a strike that does 125% damage and procs impact. You will then do a strike that does 125% damage, and a double strike that also does 125% damage. This is followed up by another strike that does 125% damage, and a strike that does 150% damage. Then you will do an AoE strike that does 125% damage, and finally a strike that does 300% damage. These bloody combos. The third combo is called Raging Conflict, and to execute this one you have to pause after the first attack. And it starts off once again with a strike that does 125% damage and procs impact. After the pause you will do 2 separate strikes that each do 125% damage, which are followed up by a double strike that does 540% damage. And finally you will do a double strike slam that does 125% damage. And the fourth and final combo is called Eternal Fall, and this one is really easy to do. Just hold the block button while mashing the melee button. And surprise surprise, it starts off with a strike that does 125% damage and procs impact. This is followed up by 3 separate strikes that each do 125% damage, and it's finished off by a strike that does 230% damage and procs Slash. And finally we have the slide attack, which is different to the ones you get with Vermilion Storm and Malicious Raptor, and it does twice as much damage as the other slide attack. Now, I don't know which stance is a bigger pain in the arse to farm, 4 Riders or Vermilion Storm. It's probably for riders, because it's a very rare drop from the Grineer Manic, and to this day I have not found a good way to farm those bastards outside of the Law of Retribution raid. Sometimes they show up on Draco, sometimes they show up in survival missions, sometimes they show up in deception missions, but if you really want to farm them, you have to do the Law of Retribution raid. Now, is the stance any good? Not really. In my opinion, it is the weakest out of the 3 stances. It simply doesn't feel as good as the other 2 stances, and some of the animations for a few of the combos are kind of awkward in my opinion. But then again, this is just my humble opinion, you might like it, so if you have a chance to try it out, definitely do so. It's not all bad, I really like Hungering Encroachment because it's a combo where you have to hold forward and you have a really nice dash, so it gives you a lot of mobility. But I guess it's just not a stance for me, alright? So, moving on to the final stance, Malicious Raptor, which is described as a stance with puncturing strikes and quick slashes, and it has once again a V polarity which matches both Ripcast and Venka. So the first combo is called Jagged Gash, and this is your standard EE button mash, and it starts off with a regular strike, followed by a double strike, and it ends with one more regular strike. The second combo is called Wicked Slash, and to execute this one you have to pause after the first attack. And this combo starts off with a regular strike, which is followed up by a double strike that procs impact. You will then do 2 separate double strikes, and you will finish it off with a penta strike. The third combo is called Venging Thrash, and this one is really easy to do, just hold the block button while mashing the melee button. And it starts off with 2 separate regular strikes, which are followed up by a triple strike that procs slash. You will then do a double strike and a strike that procs impact. And the fourth and final combo is called Lethal Clash, although I do like to call it Lethal Nosedive, because look at that! Headbutt time! Boom! That looks so damn good! And by the way, to execute this combo, you're supposed to hold the second attack, but once again, it works just fine if you hold the first attack. And it's also a very simple combo, so it starts off with a regular strike, and after the hold you will do a triple strike, which is followed up by the nosedive, which is a slam. And finally we have the charge attack, which is the same 2-stage attack for all 3 stances, and it does an absolute truck ton of damage. Now, Malicious Raptor is the easiest stance to get for the claws, which, considering it's up against Vermilion, Storm, and 4 riders, doesn't really say much. But it's really kind of easy to get because it's a rare drop from the Grineer Power Fist, which is a really common unit amongst the Grineer that has a base spawning level of 5, and it's not replaced by other units as you go up in levels. So we have 4 riders, which is a rare drop from Manics, and you can farm them in like 1 mission. Then we have Vermilion Storm, which is a rare drop from Manic Bombards, which you can also farm in like 1 mission. And then we have Malicious Raptor, which you can farm in any Grineer mission as long as it's above level 5. Quite the contrast, isn't it? Now, considering that this is by far the easiest stance to farm for the claws, is it, appropriately bad? No, not at all. This is by far my favorite stance for the claws. Thanks to the multipliers, it's really strong, and it feels damn good. It's just more fun than the other 2 stances. And that's kind of a good thing, The easiest stance to get is also the best one, It feels really powerful. And the nosedive combo, oh my goodness, the nosedive combo is fun to do. Now, that doesn't mean the other 2 stances are bad. It's just, in my opinion, the best stance out of the 3. So as I always say, you should figure out what you like instead of being told what you should like. A stance that I hate, you may love, and a stance that I love, you may hate. But this is my video, so Malicious Raptor, number 1, Vermilion Storm, number 2, and 4 riders, number 3. Now, before I end the video, there were quite a few people asking about how I make the stance videos and how long does it take. So, I'm going to show you. So, first of all, here we have the folder with everything I need for the video organized, because I'm a big fan of organization. It makes it much easier to edit because I don't have to sift through thumbnails and look for the one clip I was looking for and then make a mistake because it was actually not the clip I was looking for. So everything is organized and I have everything ready before I start editing. Now, as far as time is concerned, let's just take this video as an example, right? So, editing, recording, and then finally me doing the narration for the video takes about 5 or 6 hours. Then I have to render the video, which based on the length of this one will take about 2 hours, and then I have to make a thumbnail, upload it, do the tags and all that good stuff. And just in case you are curious, this is what the video looks like at the end in Sony Vegas. And that's pretty much it for the video. So I thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.